Hi everyone, this is Michael Urbinato with Realty One Group MVP. This weekend I was doing some market research and thought I would make a quick video for you to give you an update on the Cape Coral condominium market. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. So we all know the Cape Coral market is a buyer's market right now. In terms of single family houses, about 3,270 single family houses on the market, about 2,360 sold in the last 6 months. That's about an 8.5 month supply, but this video is about the condo market. It's about 1/10 comparatively speaking. There's 298 active low-rise, meaning between 1 and 3 story, for sale on the market right now in Cape Coral. 174 sold in the last 6 months. That's about an 11-month supply. However, there are 39 pending contracts, and that's a very important number. I'm going to show you why in a minute. So this chart is the number of sales in the green line and the number of active listings in the blue area. And this is the 10-year view. And you can see that this market traded relatively stably in terms of the number of sales, which seemed to pick up whenever inventory went above 250 units. And then in January 21, inventory fell down below 200 units. The number of sales picked up as that was happening. So we had that peak of high sales and low inventory. And if we go back to the 5-year chart, check this out. You can see the inventory went down to just below 100 units. And as the number of available listings started to increase, the number of sales went down because, let's face it, rising interest rates, rising insurance costs, not to mention taxes. Now we'll go and look at recent history, as in the last 3 years. And you can see on this next chart that sales peaked out around 50 closings per month and then started to trail off, but then kind of picked up again. So since the fourth quarter of 2023, we've had inventory above 300 units. And interestingly, whenever the inventory seems to go above 300 units, the number of sales seems to pick up. So that's very interesting. But what will the market actually bear? Should I lower my asking price? Should I raise my offer? These are our questions, right? So let's check for a relationship between the sales prices and the inventory. So this chart is the median sales prices in the green line and the number of active listings inventory in the blue. And we can see as inventory more than doubled, here's 150, here's 300 right here. As inventory more than doubled, the sales prices fell from the 260, 270 range down to the 220s range. And that's pretty well expected, right? But if we look at the 10-year history here, it paints a very telling picture, because you could draw a trend line as the prices were steadily increasing regardless of the inventory supply until we had inventory fall below normal levels with a bunch of other factors. But if we were to continue on this trend, we'd be about where we are today in terms of pricing, which I think is interesting. So until we ran out of sellers, that's when the prices spiked. We had a combination of low inventory, low rates, fast population growth, and it pushed prices sharply upwards. That attracted new listings. Basically, plans change when money's on the table. But right now, we're about where we would have been had this growth continued gradually and uninterrupted. So looking at the past 5 years, you can see how the sales declined, responding to the oversupply. And here, if you focus on the last 12 months, you can see how the prices bounced off of the $200,000 level in spite of the inventory going higher in the first quarter of 2025. The prices might have found a bottom. So let's see how that's playing out behind the scenes. All right, so this next set of charts is a fabulous set of data. This shows us the closing price to listing price ratio in green and the number of months worth of inventory in blue. This lets us see how sellers reacted to inventory and adjusted their bottom lines accordingly. You can see this segment maintained a very healthy 5 to 7 months worth of inventory, with the ratio between 95 and 97% generally, until the inventory went historically low. And then we saw that ratio go to 100%. In fact, it even went above that. January 2022, we saw the transactions closing above their asking price. Does anybody want to take a guess on when the prices maxed out? That's right, January 2022, the prices hit their peak, and they stayed there for about a year January 2023, take a look at this. It was all over. January 2023, inventory levels had reestablished. Deals were back down into the range of, well, just above where they normally were. But then inventory continued to pile on. It literally doubled in 9 months. So we saw that ratio drop rather dramatically into the low 90s. But then, look at the 12-month, we saw it maintain that level in spite of increased inventory. So where we are right now, it looks like if the inventory continues to increase, we could see some downward pressure on pricing. But again, looking at the pricing, it has significantly come down to the tune of maybe 20% from where it was, kind of in line with where it would be. So it looks like a really good time to start making offers. If you are selling, I would pay very close attention to the market over the next couple of weeks and months. So those 39 contracts I mentioned earlier, those matter a lot right now. If they were all to close, that would be more in line with the historical averages as opposed to the last 2 years, which has been only 29 listings per month selling. However, in the last 30 days, we saw 36 listings come on the market, mostly in the second half of April, timing for season. So if you are thinking of selling, please pay very, very close attention to the market over the next 3, 6, 12 weeks. It's going to be very important to see what those deals do. If you've been buying and you're on the sidelines for the past year or so, I think it's time for you to start making offers. If I could be of any assistance, if you want me to tear apart a situation, please get in touch with me. I'm always happy to help. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel.